Hello and welcome back to the channel this evening. It's Andy here, and welcome to the latest race review from the 2019 Formula 1 season. It's round number 5. It was the Spanish Grand Prix from the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. Live streaming this one because I've only not recently just finished watching the race, and trying not to fall asleep through it. It's actually giving me a bit of a headache, but we're still going to power on through and get this race review done because that's what I like to do, and I'm sure people like to see it, or at least I hope. Anyway, going into the weekend, a little bit of quick build-up news. The tyres they brought, first of all, were the 3 hardest compounds, C1, C2 and C3. Two main bits of major stories-wise was, number one, Ferrari bringing their engine upgrade forward to Barcelona to try and combat against the Mercedes dominance. I think it's the only word we can use in the first 4 races. So they brought that forward. Haas and Alfa Romeo did not have the upgrade. In fact, the Sauber team boss, Frederick Vassar, came out with a great comment when asked. He says, "We're going to let the B team test it first," which I thought was absolute comedy gold. So Ferrari with a new engine, improved performance and reliability. The other one was in regards to the future of the race at Barcelona, the Circuit de Catalunya, and indeed the Spanish Grand Prix as a whole. The rumour is that it is going to be dropped in 2020 in favour of a return to the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort. Now, my 2 pence on this real quickly. I get to some extent what's going on. Spain's never been the best race on the calendar, certainly not in recent years if you exclude Rosberg and Hamilton crashing into each other in 2016, obviously. But I don't see Zandvoort being any better. But I do get why F1 would do it from a business point of view. Obviously, the region of Catalonia, which Barcelona's in, for anyone who doesn't know, where have you been hiding for the last goodness knows how long, are kind of in dispute with the rest of Spain and indeed the Spanish government, which is based in Madrid. I think quite a bit, to what I've read, I think quite a bit of funding's been cut for Barcelona in terms of where it's came from. I think it comes from the Catalonian government, but they're not receiving as much money as they used to, so it's obviously causing problems. Zandvoort I don't think will be very good a race in terms of spectacle. It's actually narrower than Barcelona, but I get why F1 are doing it because the money they'll make out of Max Verstappen's popularity will be absolutely humongous, and obviously F1 is a business, so end of the day, sometimes that's what happens. That's why we're looking at Vietnam. That's why we had the expansion into Asia over the last 10-15 years. The money is what drives the sport, and the sport is driven by money. It's just a complete circle. But anyway, enough from that. I don't want to get too political because there's a rant coming later on, and I'll come to that one. Stick around. Into FP1, practice 1, and it was Bottas on top from Vettel. Leclerc had an oil leak which limited his running. Hamilton 6 times down, and Lance Stroll crashed towards the end of the session. That's 2 practice sessions in a row. He also crashed out, remember, in Baku. Not a good look for the Canadian driver, and more repairs for his Racing Point team. FP2, Mercedes in control, Bottas ahead of Hamilton, and AFP3, Hamilton found half a tenth on everyone else. In fact, half a tenth clear of the Ferraris. Bottas limited running after he spun and beached the car, which I believe was down at turn 4 or 5 if I remember rightly. Haas were ahead of the Red Bulls, and George Russell spun into the barrier as well, damaged the rear of his car. He actually ended up with a gearbox change, cost him a grid penalty, but starting at the back of the grid it doesn't really make much of a bloody difference. And then into qualifying 1, and dearie Nico Hulkenberg went off at turn 4, locked up and straight on, caught the wall, broke the front wing, dragged it back to pit lane, and then didn't even make it out of Q1 either on his final lap, got pushed out, and then got hit with a start from pit lane. You can actually see him up in the left hand corner in the distance if you look under the scoreboard, because the front wing that came off the car and was then replaced by the new front wing was not the same spec, so he got chucked into pit lane for that one. But that's the second race in a row that Nico's not made Q1, so not good for him. Stroll was out along with Giovinazzi. Kind of not a surprise, I'm sorry Gio, but It's just not happening. And obviously Russell and Kubica. No surprises in that one, I'm afraid. Q2, both McLarens out. Ricciardo managed to get himself into Q3 in that quite uncompetitive Renault. Not that it made much difference in the end, because he was free place grid penalty for reversing into Kvyat and forgetting his warning lights last time round. Albon, Raikkonen and Perez also out during the qualifying session. It was not a good week for Alfa Romeo or for Racing Point, but we'll come on to that when we look at the drivers later on. Into Q3, and where did that pole position time come from Bottas? Holy mollies. Only driver into the 116's, new track record as well. 6 clear of Hamilton. Hamilton could not hook it up, was compromised on his final run. He couldn't get enough charge into the battery on his in-lap from his first flying lap. Got held up with some traffic, so he didn't get enough charge in the battery, because obviously it is kinetic recovery, of course. And then when he's out lap, he got caught up with a few other drivers and again just had problems, so it kind of compromised him. But the lap from Bottas, I'm going to be honest, we know Hamilton's a qualifying specialist. I still don't think he would have beat him. Bottas was on fire. 3 pole positions in a row for the Finn, 4 poles in 5 races, having obviously taken pole position in Australia as well. So really good start to the season for Valtteri. Vettel was in third, 8 off. Verstappen was ahead of Leclerc. Now Leclerc had issues through qualifying. He damaged the floor and the site, the tray in Q2, and that dropped him down in Q3, cost him pace. So Verstappen was ahead of him. Gasly P6, he's starting to get the hang of this Red Bull by the looks of it. Grosjean, Magnussen, Kvyat and obviously Ricciardo before his penalty rounded out the top 10. Obviously Ricciardo down 3 places for reversing into Kvyat. Hulkenberg starting from the pit lane due to that front wing discrepancy. Giovinazzi had a penalty as well. He had a gearbox change, and Russell had to take a penalty for a gearbox change, but he was starting at the back anyway. Hello Soup, nice to see you along in the chat. 2021 cannot come fast enough. Yes, yes, I agree with you, my friend, but I am going to come on to all of that in a wee bit, because the rant is a-coming. Hopefully it doesn't get clipped, but there you go. Anyway, into the start of the race, and Hamilton got a launch like anything else off the line. Nearly ahead of Bottas on the run down to turn 1, but then we seen Sebastian Vettel getting a double toe off the Mercedes, and you can see the picture there, 3 wide into turn 1. They avoided contact. The Ferrari got pushed wide onto the outside of turn 1, compromised turn 2, came back out onto the track. Valtteri managed to get through after a massive tank slapper in the process. Vettel coming back on, compromised Charles Leclerc, which made Verstappen get through into P3. Gasly nearly got the monogas driver as well, but he managed to hold on. So it was Hamilton from Bottas, Verstappen in third place. Vettel was in fourth, but he had a 50p piece on that front left tyre. Leclerc in fifth and Gasly in sixth in the early stages. Behind him, Norris lost a lot of places running wide through turn 3. That compromised his entire race. In the background, we had Raikkonen go off in turn 4. The first lap, that dropped him all the way down to last, and well, it wasn't a good race for the Finn. And then there was pretty much nothing until lap 7, when we seen Giovinazzi pit early doors for hard tyres. Again, didn't do much. Lap 8, Leclerc's now harrying Vettel over P4. Took lap 10, he tried to go up the inside. Vettel held on into turn 1. Lap 12, finally the call came through. Yes, 50 VP says a flat spot. I'm hoping people would know that, Soup. But yeah, finally they let him through. About 4 or 5 laps before Ferrari let him through, and it came back later on, so we'll come back to that also. But you know, Leclerc was on the radio. Vettel was begging for a pit stop, and it wasn't coming. It took. He was still looking for a pit stop when they got to lap 18. They were obviously looking for a gap to drop him into without losing too many places. And then he finally got his wish on lap 20. Pitted for medium tyres, yellow banded tyres. Rejoined in P9, just ahead of Sainz, but he was behind Kvyat and Albon issue with the rear left meant it was a 4.4 second stop, so about 2 seconds slower than it should have been, cost him some track position, so it went from bad to worse for the German. Red Bull pitted Verstappen on the next lap to cover that off. He put the soft tyres back on, so committed to a 2-stop early. Rejoined in P5, so that was going to be interesting to see what happened there. Hamilton by this point was 7 seconds clear of Bottas, and it was looking pretty easy out front. Gasly pitted on lap 23. He put the medium tyres on, rejoining P9 ahead of Sainz, just. Vettel had passed Albon by this point, which we did not see, thank you very much World Feed Director. Kvyat having pitted, so that kept him out of the way of Vettel. Magnussen pitted, kept him out of the way of Vettel just as he was closing up Ferrari B team orders. They're going well. Lap 24, we've seen Vettel now P6, Magnussen Vettel was in P6, Magnussen pitted as he rejoined in P13. Kvyat attempt to pass Raikkonen and nearly screwed into the back of him, and then got him beautifully into turn 4 around the outside. Fantastic move by the Russian, who obviously David Croft and Martin Brundle called Alexander Albon, and praised the Thai Brit driver there with a bit of... Not the first time they've got names wrong either, let's be perfectly honest about it. Ricciardo had been harrying Sainz for the whole race, finally got past him into turn 1. This was lap 25, and then he had to pit the next lap. And Sainz jumped him 2 laps after the pit stop, so it didn't go well for Ricciardo. Bottas came in on lap 27, Leclerc came in the lap before, he rejoined in P5 ahead of Vettel still, but he was on the hard tyres. Who is on the Ferrari pit wall, and how can they be sacked? Why the hard tyres? Seriously? Goodness gracious me. P3 car pipe for P11 now. We'll watch Hamilton. I totally agree, so you're right on the ball with this, my friend. You absolutely are. But yeah, hard tyres for Leclerc. Came back out in P5 anyway. Bottas was in 27. Still P2. Medium tyres. Hamilton the next lap. Medium tyres still in P1. Lap 33. Vettel now attacking Leclerc, but Leclerc defends, remains in P4. Lap 36, where Paul di Resta had mentioned how the radio chatter from the Ferrari guys was confusing. Confusing how? Well, Leclerc was being told that they were on the same strategy, and Vettel's engineer was telling him that they're on different strategies. So he's wondering, why the heck's my teammate holding them up? So Ferrari getting their wires crossed again, and it took a number of laps. It took until lap 37, I think it was. It was just ridiculous how many laps that Leclerc lost time behind Vettel in the first stint, and then how much Vettel lost to Leclerc in the second stint. And this is one of the reasons why Mercedes are dominating. To put it bluntly, Ferrari cannot get their shit together. End of story. They've done this too much already this season. Leclerc's giving them a headache they never had with Kimi Raikkonen, and thank God for it, because I love seeing Charles Leclerc in that car. And Mercedes are just maximising everything. They've made the best car, and they're just doing what they're doing. And for those who go on saying that F1 is boring, I get it is not the greatest at the moment. 5-1-2s for Mercedes doesn't look great on paper. But a true F1 fan can see all the other battles, even if the TV directors can't see it or don't show us it and we see uselessness. There is still plenty of battles through the field. It is a fight between the teams and the drivers. Yes, the on-track action is the main proportion of it, of course, but you need to look deeper than that. Mercedes are a business, they're a team, they are there to win, and it is not their fault they've built a car that is capable of taking 5-1-2s in the first 5 races and no one else can get close to them. That's not their fault. Oh, let's change everything because Mercedes are too good. They done their job right and everyone else sucks. Yes, change the rules. Yes, we need closer racing, but it's not Mercedes' fault. And so much on social media is people going on, look beyond it, try and find the other battles, find the other stories. There is plenty going on there if you can find it, even if we don't quite see it in TV. Use social media, use the news outlets, and look with your goddamn friggin' eyes and think before you argue. Jesus bloody Christ. Right, anyway, ran over. Kvyat passed Magnussen on lap 38 into turn 1. A great little move. He had to duck at the last minute as Magnussen pulled to the right. Kvyat back to the left and round the outside, so that was good. They pitted Vettel for the second time in lap 41. He put on another set of medium tyres. No issues this time. They had issues with Leclerc's pit stop as well in the left rear. No problems this time. Rejoining P6 behind Gasly, but he stormed past him into turn 10 on the same lap, stole back P5 pretty quickly. He had to do that quickly. He did. He really, really did. We then also seen Verstappen coming from the pits, putting the medium tyres and rejoining P4 behind Leclerc but still ahead of Vettel. And we've seen a slow motion replay which showed that Hamilton's right rear looking pretty blistered at that point. I was like, they're not going to go another 20 odd laps, and it was true, because they pitted Bottas in lap 46 and we expected to see Hamilton next lap, and we did, but not before we see Lance Stroll and Lando Norris in the gravel on the outside of turn 2 and a safety car deployed. How good was that for Hamilton's? He would have been still out in the lead, but that made it so much easier. Just absolute ideal timing. The move between Lance Stroll and Lando Norris. My opinion on it: Lando going for the outside line into turn 1. He had DRS to assist him. He'd got the front wheel and the wing pretty much to where the cockpit would be, so he did have reason to put his car in that position, in my opinion. Stroll obviously thought he was a bit further ahead, took the line into the corner, contact made. This racing point is in the gravel. Lando's got a flat front right tyre, possible suspension damage, definitely wing damage, couldn't get it back to pit lane, out of the race. Racing incident for me. Both could have gave each other a bit of room. Lance could have gave a bit of room knowing Lando was trying to go around the outside if he'd used his mirrors, and Lando could maybe have backed out when he realised that Stroll was coming across the line, or likely to come across the line. But if you're not going for the gap, as they say, you're not a racer. So there you go. So anyway, that brought the safety car out. Hamilton obviously pitted and rejoined still in the lead, as he was going to do anyway. They pitted Leclerc as well for fresh medium, so that put him down to P5 now in the end, so that wasn't too good for him. And then the safety car was out for quite a while and running pretty slowly. Hamilton was coming up alongside it quite often, and there was one bit down the front straight where Hamilton braked because the safety car was slowing down for turn 1, and it was the Renault of, I believe it was Hulkenberg, nearly went into the back of Alexander Albon, and nobody in the commentary box, as bloody usual, spotted it. So me and you could do this, actually. We'd do a much better job, mate. Yeah, it was quite close. Safety car a lot slower than normal, so that wasn't good. But anyway, restarting lap 53, Hamilton sprinted. He was absolutely off. Fastest lap of the race on that first lap back, and he was up a couple of seconds very, very quickly within a lap and a half. He'd gained like 3 seconds already. A ridiculous pace out there. Restart was Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen and back in P3, Vettel in 4th, Leclerc 5th. It was Gasly, Grosjean, Magnussen, Kvyat, Sainz rounding out the top 10. Yes, we are, actually. I'm starting to realise that nowadays. So, and then we've seen a wee bit, Gasly was battling Leclerc. Leclerc got completely wrong-footed at the restart. Managed to hold off the position, though. And Gasly had to concede and still hold on to P6. We've seen Magnussen passing Grosjean. Wheel-to-wheel contact between the Haas cars. Where have we seen that kind of stuff before? Grosjean takes the escape road. Magnussen is through. Grosjean's now having to, try and get the place back. He attacks into turn 1 next time by, but Magnussen again keeps the position, and Grosjean takes the escape road for the second lap running. And now he's got Kvyat and the rest coming up behind, and he would lose a few places over the next few laps. So he tried to make the repass on Magnussen, couldn't get it done, ran wide. Then a lap later, Sainz went up the inside of him. Grosjean went wide again and kept the position. He did go round the bollard, so it was legal. There was a bumpy wheels as well, and Sainz finally got the move done. Kvyat done it as well on lap 61. Albon tried and failed, and it finished exactly like that. Hamilton takes his third Spanish Grand Prix victory in a row. First time that's been done since Schumacher days. He got the best start. He had great race pace. Finally gets the fastest lap in this season. And best response for being 6 times down in qualifying. You know, you can't really do much better than that. Bottas, you probably could say he lost the race at the start, but if Hamilton had that pace that he had, and he was behind Bottas, would he been able to get through, or would the Bottas had more pace if he'd been ahead? I think based on the pace, the race pace that they both had, I think Hamilton would have got by and still won. But it's still another 1-2. It's the 5th 1-2 in a row for Mercedes, and they're just doing everything right. Verstappen in P3, he managed to jump Vettel at the start, and nearly lost the place to Leclerc, but gained it back because Vettel actually compromised his own teammate. Pretty comfortable from there on in. That's 10 top 4 finishes in a row for the Dutchman. He's showing great consistency now, if we exclude his incident with Ocon in Brazil, and he's starting to show the signs of a future world champion, which is very, very interesting indeed. Vettel P4, he went for it into turn 1, he went all in at the first lap and lost, basically. Flat spotted the tyre, that ruined his pace. He got kept out a bit longer than he would have liked, but obviously they were trying to find him a gap and keep the it going. He had good pace in the fresh tyres, but not enough to close up. Took P4. Leclerc ruined his own qualifying with damage in his car in Q2, that compromised his Q3, and then his teammate inadvertently squeezed him out at turn 2, which cost him the place to Verstappen. A strange strategy going on the hard, as Soup was saying in the chat there. Ferrari strategists need to have a look at themselves. I mean, what the bloody hell are they doing between team orders and that? It's ridiculous. But P5 for Leclerc. He's got his home race up next, so hopefully better luck for him, and hopefully better than last year where he crashed out with brake failure. Gasly in P6, starting to get some more pace in that Red Bull. Still about 2-3 times down on Verstappen though. Nearly got Leclerc on lap 1, and nearly then got him again under a safety car as mentioned, but unable to do so. Some debris in his front wing didn't help either during most of the race, so P6 for him, he'll be happy with some decent points though. Magnussen best of the rest. Now it didn't look on at one point. It was better race pace for the Haas team. Their upgrades certainly helped here. Contact passing Grosjean as well. Not too good for team camaraderie, shall we say. But I do think the safety car benefited him, and the fact that Toro Rosso, as we'll come to in a minute, made a bit of a boo-boo during the pit stops. But P7 for Magnussen. Haas will be just happy to get some points. P8 for Sainz means that he's still finished every Spanish Grand Prix in the points, and a decent race actually. He made an error in Q2, which meant he didn't get into Q3. He kept Ricciardo behind for pretty much the entirety of his first stint. Bit of contact with Grosjean when passing, stuff like that, but the change of tyres at the safety car really helped him, and overtakes with Kvyat making a mistake after the restart with the safety car. I don't know, with Grosjean meant he got P8 in front of his home crowd, to be happy with that. Kvyat P9, he actually had a really good drive. They had great overtakes as well. He was constantly fighting in the top 10 pretty much all weekend. I think he was on for a possible P7, P8, but when the safety car came out, they double stacked the Toro Rossos, and Kvyat was sat there on the jacks with no tyres. It cost him quite a bit of time, unfortunately, and it cost Albon time as well. Probably cost him a point as well to go on to. But P9 still a good return for Toro Rosso. Grosjean's finally got a point. He's finally scored a point a lot quicker than he did last year, but could have been higher. Dropped back after after the safety car. Obviously contact with his teammate, ran wide again with Kvyat, with Sainz, so he'll be happy to have held on to P10 and get a point. Albon, again, he made mistakes in Q2, could have been into the top 10, could have points as well if the team had got the tyres ready for both of him and Kvyat, who knows, but couldn't get Grosjean at the end. Ricciardo got into Q3, then started obviously 3 places back because he's penalty, stalked Sainz for the entirety of the first stint, got past him and then went into the pit lane. and changed tyres, and then Sainz got him 2 laps later. That Renault looked worryingly slow, and that's not good. I'm not happy with that. I want to see them up there. I want to see them fighting up there, to be honest. Hulkenberg crashed out in Q1, was out in Q1 as well, obviously. Pit lane start due to that front wing discrepancy, which is just bureaucracy bullshit if you ask me sometimes, but there you go. But again, the lack of the pace meant it was never likely going to be a points paying position today from the pit lane, and he finished behind his teammate, helped a little bit obviously by the safety car, but the fact that he can get up and finish behind his teammate from pit lane, whereas Ricciardo could only make up a place or two from where he where he started, doesn't look too good for Daniel, I'll tell you that much. Behind him in 14th was Kimi Raikkonen. Well, his wording at the end was, thank God we've got testing this week, because he was not happy with that car, looked slow. First race out at the points since his return. He'll be hoping for better luck in Monaco. He's won there before, so you never know. He could do really, really well. Perez, P15, racing point. This really showed up the financial issues from last year, because obviously they started developing the car while that was ongoing, and that's caused big issues with the development. This is a chassis circuit, it's really dependent on aero and chassis, and you notice there was a real struggle for Racing Point this weekend. Perez couldn't repeat his heroics they'd done in likes of Baku and that, and in China with his tyre management. This time out, P15. Just nowhere, basically, unfortunately. Giovinazzi in P16, another hard weekend. The quote even was, it's finding it harder and harder to find the positives, and it's becoming a bit of a theme for the Italian. He's still not out-qualified Raikkonen, and he's still not out-raced him yet either, so he needs to get a move on soon, or he's going to lose his seat this year. George Russell, grid penalty for gearbox change after his P3 crash, but he's doing all he can with what he's got in front of him. He beat Kubica again in qualifying, he beat Kubica again in the race. He's doing what he can do with the equipment he's got. It's frankly a crap car, we all know that, so but he's doing the best he can. Kubica, I'm just going to leave that there because the car's pants. He needs to be beating Russell and he's not. It's a shame, but it is what it is. And then the 2 DNFs, Lance Stroll, again as mentioned, same with Perez. Force India struggling, crashed out in FP1, which is not good for him. And then obviously the crash with Norris. And Lando Norris became the first teammate to out-qualify Carlos Sainz in Spain. That was an interesting wee stat there, and I think that's pretty good for the rookie as well. But yeah, just got caught up in lap 1 running wide, cost him a few positions. That compromised the rest of his race, and then obviously the incident with Stroll took him out. The only 2 DNFs caused the safety car. Championship wise, Hamilton now back in the lead, 112 points, Bottas on 105, then it's Verstappen on 66, Vettel on 64, Leclerc on 57. There's a bit of a gap to Gasly on 21 as he starts to get a bit of steam. Magnussen then best of the rest on 14, Perez and Raikkonen on 13, Norris on 12. Mercedes have already broke 200 points, they're on 217, Ferrari on 121. We'll just give the Constructors' crown to Mercedes right now, well done you. Red Bull on 87, McLaren on 22 points still, so they're still doing not too bad. Racing Point on 17, Haas 15, Alfa Romeo 13, Renault 12, ouch, Toro Rosso 6 and Williams in the big fat 0 as they have been. My thoughts on the race, yeah, it was in terms of spectacle, it wasn't great. The safety car did spice it up a wee bit towards the end, but we were also kind of taken away from a strategy playing out. Leclerc going the one stopper on the hard tyres, Vettel coming back with fresh tyres, and Verstappen having pitted. It would have been interesting to see how that would have played out without the safety car. But obviously the safety car bunched them all up, gave us the action at the end, so you know what, we can't complain at that. But it was a pretty average race, let's be perfectly honest. Monaco's up next, the jewel in the crown, but it's probably going to be pretty much a procession, let's be honest. So if you're going to do anything on the 26th of May, don't bother with Monaco, even though I will be here for the review. Wait till 5 o'clock and turn on the Indy 500 instead. That'll be a much better race in my opinion, but there you go. Anyway, that is it. Enough ramblings from me. I've had my rant, blew the steam off and everything. Surely there'll be more to come later on. I will be back in 2 weeks' time. I will review the Monaco Grand Prix. Thanks for joining me in the chat. That's actually brilliant to see you supporting me. I really appreciate it, mate. Thank you very much. Anyone else that's been watching along live or indeed afterwards, hit the like button as well. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Got more content coming up during the week as well. My latest classic cars video on it's currently Indy 500 month for me, so looking at the 65 Lotus 38 that took Jimmy Clark to his one and only Indy 500 victory. So that's coming up later on in the week. But until next time, my name is Andy. Thanks very much for watching. Really appreciate it all. And until next time, I'll see you again soon. Ta-da.